If you look at my life now, you might notice something a little bit strange, because I live furniture free. No chairs, no tables, not even a bed. But I haven't always been this way. I used to live in a house full of furniture, just like pretty much everyone else in the Western world. And so I thought I should talk about how I ended up this way, how it happened pretty much accidentally, why that actually ended up being a great thing for my life, and how you can replicate it, if that's something you're interested in. So before I start, a little bit of backstory about me. Prior to my furniture-free transition, I had chronic back and neck pain, I was regularly getting ill, I was eating loads of junk food, I had a terrible sleep schedule, I was playing over 7 hours of video games a day, and when I did exercise, I was always pushing myself too hard and getting injured. I've always been a really athletic person, but while I looked fit, under the surface, I was falling apart. And that's when I first found out about furniture free. Now, of course, I'm not going to claim that furniture free solved all of my problems, especially my video game addiction, but for me, it was the first time in my adult life that I had been able to integrate a positive and consistent lifestyle change, and it made me realise that sometimes the best thing to do is to take something away instead of adding it. And it all started with this book. And my now fiance, Frankie. I met Frankie at a parkour class in 2015, and at the time, she had just finished reading the incredible book Move Your DNA by Katie Bowman. When we started dating, she was still living in a house full of furniture, but with two small differences. We ate meals at a coffee table sitting on cushions on the floor, and we slept on a futon company mattress, which while still soft, is firmer than a normal mattress due to it having layers of cotton and foam instead of springs. I'll be honest, I did find this way of life a little odd, but after reading Bowman's book myself, I recognised the benefits and started to really love it. But little did I know that this was the start of my new furniture-free life, and that I had inadvertently begun in the best way possible. Why do I think it was the best way possible? Well, I'm glad you asked, imaginary commenter that I just made up. The reason that this was such a good way to start a furniture-free lifestyle is because of the biggest mistake I see most people make. We live in a culture of quick fixes, but unfortunately, when it comes to the body, fixing anything is rarely quick, which is something I've learnt the hard way, hence all of the injuries. Anyway, my point is that while it may not seem like a big deal to sit on the floor, for your body it is. Skin needs time to toughen up from the harder surfaces, muscles need to get used to being used as padding, your joints need a while to adjust to the new postures, and everything needs to become more flexible so that you aren't straining to hold certain positions. And for anyone that's done flexibility training, you'll know that that takes a long time. But I'll be honest, I got lucky with this one, because over this period, I was still living my life mostly normally, only sitting on the floor for an hour or so a day, and sleeping on a firm but still soft mattress. That gave my body time to adjust to the new loads and to get comfortable sitting on the floor for long periods of time. And that's how I thought things would stay, because we weren't planning on going completely furniture free. But that changed in 2017 when we decided to move to Leicester. Instead of carting all of our furniture with us, we decided to sell the furniture we didn't like that much and buy something else once we got there. Of course, we were planning to re-buy all these things once we reached Leicester, but this is where the accidental part of the story comes into play. I had a job lined up for when we arrived and some savings to get us settled in. But as soon as we arrived in Leicester, we had a problem. My job offer fell through. And suddenly, buying new furniture really didn't seem like the best use of our money. We were still doing fine enough, and with our experience of living furniture free from our time in Canterbury, it wasn't that hard to get used to living completely furniture free. So it wasn't until about 4 months after we moved in that we decided to look into getting some more furniture. And as you can probably guess, after 4 months of living on the floor and getting very used to it, we kind of thought, why bother? And decided not to. I still had a normal height desk, so I managed to get a hold of one of those kneeling chairs second hand. But other than that, we didn't buy anything. We sat and lounged around on the floor in our time off, we ate our meals on our coffee table, and we slept on our mattress on the floor, flipping it regularly to stop it from going mouldy. Even though at the time I remember feeling a bit annoyed and very stressed, I now look back at it rather fondly. Because without it, I almost certainly wouldn't have committed to going completely furniture free. Over the rest of our time in Leicester, our furniture situation didn't change much, but our bodies certainly did. After about a year of eating, sleeping and lounging on the floor, my back pain was mostly gone. I found myself becoming more flexible and that I didn't need as much of a warm up to use that flexibility. My deep squat got a lot better over that time as well. I went from being able to do a deep squat to being able to sit in a deep squat comfortably for about 30 minutes at a time. I mentioned earlier about the idea of taking things away instead of adding them. Previously, I'd always tried to do more and failed spectacularly. A new exercise plan, a new diet plan, new rules on when and how much YouTube time and gaming time I could have. But with furniture free, I didn't have to use willpower or make a choice, because you can't lounge around on the sofa for hours when you don't have a sofa. Anyway, our time in Leicester was great, but it was time to move on, and at the end of 2018, we moved again, this time to Manchester. And with the move to Manchester came more changes. At first, we were living pretty much the same way we did in Leicester, albeit with more space. But we made a lot of small changes during our time in Manchester. I won't go into all of the details because I actually did an apartment tour at the time. But as a super speedy rundown, we started eating on a tablecloth on the floor, cut the legs off of this white table, and gave the same treatment to my desk. We bought this banana leaf thing from IKEA. We put a fingerboard above the door. I built these balance beams for training with. I built a squat toilet for pooping, and this cobblestone tray for standing. And we eventually switched from our thick mattress to this thinner one, also by Futon Company. All of this stuff happened over a relatively long period of time. It wasn't a sudden shock like it was in Leicester. Instead, it was all just little changes that happened as the need for them arose. But when you add them all together, it was actually quite a big difference from where we started. And it was around this time that we really started to forget what it was even like to live with normal furniture. And it was quite shocking to go over to other people's houses and see just how much furniture they had. But I'm sure they also felt that shock when they came to our house, and that's fair. It was over this time that the benefits of furniture free really shone through. My back pain was now pretty much completely gone. My posture was significantly better. I continued to become more flexible, even though I wasn't putting in any significant training, and my deep squat became something I could enjoy sitting in for as long as I wanted. And between living furniture free and a decent bit of rehab, I was finally injury free. Like I said, I ruined my health as a teen and young adult with my terrible diet, rubbish sleep schedule, and destructive training. But between furniture free, some rehab, intermittent fasting, a decent diet, and getting my 8 hours sleep each night, I felt like the hard work and lifestyle changes had all paid off. But while things were going well for us in Manchester, sometimes things just aren't meant to be. And when March of 2020 came around, our reasons to stay in Manchester disappeared almost as quickly as our freedoms did, and we had to make a decision. And in the end, that decision led us right back to where we started, in Canterbury. At least for the time being. And with that, we reach our current incarnation of furniture free. We got rid of all of our tables, I got rid of my old desk and built the one you see me sitting on right now. And we even stopped using our thin mattress and we've moved on to sleeping on a duvet on a carpet floor. We both work from home, so between the two of us we share the working space, either sitting at the desk, sitting on the floor, or standing up using this kitchen cabinet. In many ways, I kind of feel like we've completed furniture free at this point. I mean, what else is there left to get rid of? And it's kind of crazy that it's taken 7 years to get to this point, and none of it would have ever happened if we'd just had the money to buy the furniture we wanted back in Leicester. Of course, I also can't ignore Katie Bowman's work, which first led me down this route, or for that matter, the wonderful woman in my life who introduced me to it in the first place. Now, you might be thinking, that seems like a lot of stuff. That's not very minimalist, is it? And you'd be right, because furniture free isn't minimalism. And if you want to find out why that's the case, then maybe this video is right for you.